Now reconvene from closed session. Item F, announcements of actions taken in closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session. Moving on to G, comments from the public. The board will now take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. So we have a request for oral communication from James Alvarez from the Iron Workers, Chapter 229.
Yep. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Everybody, my first time down here for speaking, and my name is James Alvarez, Iron Workers Local 229, which is San Diego, Imperial County, and we got a little bit of Orange County and Riverside County. And I'm here to speak in favor of a project labor agreement. Because what happens, we all know, I think so, with the project labor agreement is it induces more local hiring, keeps the money in this community. And what's going on in this community, right over here, is the big project, the Calexico Land Port of Entry, LPOE, obviously written on everything, LPOE, Land Port of Entry. And with that, there's no project labor agreement. And so, okay, fine. Any company bids and any company brings anybody where they want. We're all Americans, but really, this is Calexico. This is the community of Calexico, and what's happening over there is with the structural steel erection, with the rebar. The ironworkers, we do the rebar and the concrete, and we do the structural steel I-beams that you put up, big high-rises and ports of entry. That bid went to a company out of Gilbert, Arizona, and they're going to bring all their guys, all of them. I've flown to Gilbert, Arizona, went over there and met with them. I'm going to go meet with them again. I'm trying to work some things with them, but at this point, they're going to bring all their guys from Gilbert, Arizona. So over there, I'll be there taking pictures of those parking lot, and it's going to be all Arizona license plates, and they're taking their money and they're taking it back out. It's not going to be even Californians, guys coming from San Diego or LA company or something. San Bernardino. This is going out of state. This money is going out of state. What was it, a bond measure or something that's been passed that we're using to build this? This is the taxpayers from this community, their money. And then the people from Calexico, what's the Calexico unemployment rate been? Not so good over the years. I know, not so good. And so here, we've got these jobs coming up. We have opportunities. And at least over here, on this, as far as the structural steel erection goes, the Calexico citizens have been waiting for this job. I got welders and stuff in this community wanting to get on there and go to work. They're going to be just left holding the bag. And it's because we weren't successful in getting that PLA on there. The PLA is so imperative for this community, a community of the Imperial County, Calexico. I have plenty of Calexicans that are members of my union. And what we've been doing, we have a training facility. We don't have, some of the other crafts have training facilities right here. Ours is in San Diego County, and we bring them up here. We have lots of them from the solar we've drafted in. And I was just talking to a young man out on the sidewalk wants to get in. He knew I was coming down here. And we bring them in, and it's people that's never struck an arc before. And because we have the facilities and we're training them, we're taking El Centro and Imperial Valley's guys that have never seen a welding arc, and now we get them working at the nuclear power plants and stuff. These guys, we get them so much certs. We put 4 years investment into them, and we're making them employable on a global scale. We get these guys trained up, and the companies suck them up and take them to all kinds of great places. Anyway, we're giving them homeowner level jobs, not guys. Not everybody goes to college and gets the everybody's not going to be the Ivy League route. And so for those guys, with our training and the jobs that PLAs help provide for the members of this community, they are homeowner level jobs, better for the community. So on that note, all right, I'll wrap it up. I get going sometimes.
Yeah, we will.
And so there it is. Thanks. I just urge you all to vote yes for the PLA.
Thank you, sir. We have another request for oral communication from Michelle Krug. Good evening.
It does come down. Good evening. I also want to urge you to vote yes on considering the project labor agreement. I mean, this is just directing your staff to see what it would look like. There's still the opportunities to make changes in it. And I just think that, as Mr. Alvarez also indicated, the fact that you're going to be pursuing local jobs, there's nothing else that can do that, and there's nothing that makes that more valuable than this. I was just at a project labor agreement final reading, actually, for the Sweetwater High School District on Monday night. And I think for me, the culminating factor, we had about at least 20, 25 people who live in the community that are construction workers that talked about from all the different fields, from, plumbers and pipe fitters to iron workers to electrical workers, etc., that talked about what the difference being in the union and getting that kind of training, quality training, has made in their lives. Some of them had worked non-union before, and then they got into the union, and it made all the difference of them being able to actually buy a house in the neighborhood that they grew up in. The culminating factor was this young man that held his child. He had an 8-month-old, and he held him up at the end after talking about which schools he had attended and the pride that he felt knowing that he had helped work on remodeling some of those schools. He held his son up and said, "This is the class of 2034," and that just struck everybody that this is what this is about, is facilitating the ability to have that kind of pride in your own community, for him to know that he's building this for his child, and for his child to be able to know that, that came from the generation of his parents, and to pass that on. It just is, there's nothing that can take the place of that kind of pride and investment in your own community. So I also urge you to vote yes on the PLA. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, there are no more requests for oral communication. We'll move on to H, the consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon one motion without discussion. Is there any discussion on any of the items, or any items need to be pulled?
Okay, I'd like to have item H4 pulled. I had requested some information to be placed on there that was not forwarded to me from the Unity conference, and there's only on the agenda there's only the cost and the dates, but I really don't feel comfortable asking the board to vote on something without enough backup material, and so I'd like for it to be tabled to the next meeting.
Okay, so then are you making a motion to table H4?
To make a motion to approve with the exception of H4 to be tabled to the following.
Okay, so motion to approve H1, H2, all the way down to H8, with the exception of H4 to be tabled to the next meeting?
Correct.
Okay. So there's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. With Trustee Aguilar making the motion, Trustee Calderon Jr. seconding, with Trustee Real absent. Motion passes. Moving on to informational items. I1, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening. There's not much to report other than there's a lot of construction and going on at our different school sites. I've asked our our M&O director, our facilities director, for an update, and he has stated that the school sites should be ready by the second week of August. That's the estimated time of completion for our for Rockwood and Dual and a project that's going on at Kennedy Gardens, etc. So our schools should be ready to go for the opening of school in the third week of August. And that's all there. Oh, by the way, they've been working on the football field, and they're already preparing for the work on the all-weather track. So projects are moving.
I'd like to suggest something.
Sure.
If you can keep us abreast, probably bi-weekly, the
Okay.
progress or lack of progress,
Okay.
so we can ensure that the schools
Definitely.
are ready by the school year.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to I2, association comments from ACT. Is there anybody from ACT here? CSEA? Okay. Moving on to I3, pool committee, nothing to report. Insurance committee, nothing to report. ROP committee, Trustee Calderon Jr.
Nothing to report. We haven't met, and once we meet, I'll let you know. We haven't.
Okay. Safety committee, nothing to report. And LCAP committee, nothing to report. So I guess there's nothing to report. All right, I4, board reports. Starting from my left, Trustee Aguilar.
Good afternoon. I just want to wish or hope that everybody's enjoying their summer, hot as it is. I just want to share with the board and our administrators and guests here. I've been collaborating with Ms. Vanessa Lopez and made contact with KPBS, as Ms. Ambriz and perhaps others in the district are aware of. I've worked collaboratively with KPBS on literacy projects. I'm happy to report that we will be working with Ms. Vanessa Lopez to bring a book presentation that will provide about 4 classroom sets for the school she works at the 3rd grade level. We will be bringing the authors of the book, which is Armando and the Blue Tarp. We will also be having a parent activity that will tie directly into the LCAP. And so that's one of the things that I want to share with you. KPBS is going to be kind enough to forward down a flip camera so that we can record those kind of activities and be able to, so that the students could do maybe oral histories that relate to the story. Another opportunity that's coming up, also together with KPBS. KPBS is applying for a grant that we're trying to apply towards having a presentation of a documentary for Willie Velasquez, and to encourage people to vote and to be aware of the impact of their votes. And we will be working with, hopefully, civics classes from Calexico High School and the local community college and our San Diego State. So if there are people who are interested in participating in that event, just reach out to me. Other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Calderon Jr.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Myself, I have nothing to report at this time. Moving on to I-5, accounts payable June pre-list. Are there any questions, trustees?
No, not at this time.
No questions? Okay. Moving on to J, action items, consideration and action and/or approval of the following items. J1, project labor agreements, discussion and direction to staff regarding negotiation of a project labor agreement for potential construction projects funded by the future district general obligation bond proceeds. So at this point, Mr. Hom, in regards to the process for this, at this point, in the event the board desires to give direction to the administration to negotiate this. So it would the negotiation would commence if and when the bond passes, at which point then it moves on to a resolution, and then it's still subject to a vote, correct?
Is this on?
Yeah.
You could direct staff to negotiate the project labor agreement now, if you want, subject to final board approval. You could direct staff to open negotiations, but don't finalize anything until whether you know the bond passes, the state bond passes, Prop 51. And again, bring it back for final board approval. It's really kind of up to you at what point you want to start it. Just because you give direction to the board to go out and negotiate a project labor agreement, they've still got to bring it back for final approval.
Okay.
Well, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, before giving direction, I had requested information, and I don't know whether it was not able to locate regarding what has been the process, what has been the impact. I wanted more information. I want more information before I give direction.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
If I may,
Yes.
what some districts do is they'll schedule a workshop or a special board meeting, invite the unions, invite interested citizens, have a presentation. Everybody can say what they want to say about the project labor agreement, either for, against, how it's going to impact the local community, that type of thing.
That was my direction. Like Ms. Aguilar, I too requested information, and due to the lack of information, I can't make a decision tonight. But I'd like to recommend that we have some type of retreat or special meeting and invite the unions to come and tell us how this would benefit our community, and also allow the community to come in and voice their opinion, whether they're for it or against it. And we've been through this before, and I like to be transparent with our community because we know that this is money, and money, we have to make sure that we're spending the money correctly. We're already currently in negotiations with 2 other unions, and to get a third one would only increase the workload of our staff. So I like more information before I can make any decision on even giving directions to our staff. So I'm available this summer. We can sit down, invite the unions, invite the community.
So would you want that in the form of a special board meeting just for this particular item?
Yeah, just this item, and have the committee come in and
have staff
contractors,
bring us
whoever they wanna
the
invite.
information you're requesting now?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so that would be what,
That would be the direction that we're giving.
okay.
Set up a
So then we need potential dates for a special board meeting just for the project labor agreement, and then invite all interested parties.
Do we want to do it in June, in July, or August?
Well, this is all tied to the bond, and obviously time is of the essence, so would that be okay
The what?
to do it in July?
So we would have sometime the last week of July or first week of August. Do you all have any plans?
See, even this is something that we don't know. I mean, I don't know how long this negotiation would take. And these are the things that we need to get educated on so we can set timeframes if we're going to go that route.
So,
I mean, we did it with the bond. I think the bond kept us abreast of every date and ensured us that we needed to act before certain dates, and I think that's what we need. We need to take the same approach as we did with the bond. The bond, we just didn't do it overnight. We got educated, and we put it out there to our voters, and it seems like it's a good thing now, but it's not a sure thing. So I think we need to take the same approach and get educated.
okay, so would you be amenable to a meeting in July,
I'm good.
trustee?
Yes.
Yeah, they'd be fine with
Yeah.
July.
Okay. So
Are we talking during the day, or are we talking during the?
What would be,
well, I'm open for whatever what the majority of the board wishes. I know that
I know that
Trustee Real has a difficult time during the day, and by the way, she does extend her apologies. She had a situation beyond her control for this evening, but I do know that she has difficulties during the day, but I can try to find out if there's any days that she has during the day open.
The same is with me right now. I'm back to back with appointments with academic advising, so anytime after 5 is preferable.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 26th through the 28th.
No, I'll be gone that week,
You'll be gone that week?
24th through the 31st.
Okay. So then it would have to be next week.
I'm fine.
That may not be enough time for you to get the
Yeah.
word out to the unions and whoever might be interested within the community.
Then till August then?
Second or third? Or fourth?
Well, August.
When do you come back, Mr. Calderon?
No? Second or third, yeah.
What is the 4th? Monday? Or how about the 4th, which is a Thursday? And that's our normal. So August 4th?
Yeah.
Miss Aguilar, is that okay with you?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll find out tomorrow.
This is during the day,
Evening, I believe.
evening?
We'll do 5 p.m. After 5, so we'll 5:30, 6 o'clock. What is your preference? Which one? 5:30?
6.
Okay. 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. August 4th, we'll have a special board meeting regarding project labor agreements. Okay.
And this is in regards to also ascertaining all the information the trustees have requested.
That is correct.
Okay. So moving on to J2. Well, on J1, would we be tabling this till that special board meeting? No?
No, because we already gave the...
Okay. All right. So J2, agreement renewal between Calexico Unified School District and Keenan and Associates for property and casualty claims administration services.
And this is to renew our agreement with Keenan as they handle our claims throughout the year. And this is our yearly renewal. Or
Annual thing?
Actually, the contract is for, this particular contract is for 3 years.
Okay.
And they administer our liability claims. You know how the items on the agenda for denial for liability claim for tort claims that are filed against the district. In addition to, they take care of our workers' compensation. They're our third-party administrator for workers' compensation. And for, they insure all of our property, as far, and we pay the insurance on that. So this is our, it's an agreement for 3 years, and it's my recommendation that we move forward. There is a cancellation clause in there where we can terminate with 60-day notice if there would be an issue or grounds for termination of the agreement. Then we could put a 60-day notice to Keenan.
Ms. Blunt, the last contract was for 3 years?
I think it was for 5 years. I think, yeah. I think so. And let me share with you just some information regarding. We have tried to solicit other companies for services, but just so that you as a board know, our workers' compensation rate is extremely high. We are double any other district in the valley. So a lot of times when we're soliciting and getting information, the rates are so outrageous with other companies because of the relationship that we have with Keenan. We're able to continue to renew based on the rates that we have versus if we were to go out with another company, the rates would be outrageous because of our usage and experience rate with workers' comp. The county average is about maybe 2.25 well, every other district other than Calexico. Ours is, I think, 5.047. That's what we pay for the rate on workers' comp.
So I have a question. What strategies, well, before that, historically, what has been our, their cost to us? Have their services to us increased, and by how much?
So it depends on the coverage that we choose as far as, so I'll talk about the property part of it. And our liability claims. So as far as property goes, as we continue to add property, like say we didn't have a pool for a long period of time. So now that we have insured our pool, well, there's going to be some cost associated with that. So on a normal basis, no. In addition to whatever additional coverages, and they're very minimum. So from the standpoint of we look at different claims where there's a program through our that they offer different types of programs. So will we enlist in the program? Yes, but it's maybe $7,000 is just an example. But what that does is it allows when, like say for instance, a child gets hurt at school, like there's like some child-on-child type contact and it's under a certain threshold. Well, instead of it being a claim against our insurance, we just settle it and we're able to, it doesn't cost any extra money because of the different program that we're on. So we pay a fee for that, but it's beneficial in the long run. So it's not something that the district is being sued for long periods of time. In addition to, the rates have not really gone up too much. We do have some pending litigation when it comes to incidences at our schools, where Keenan works on behalf of the district to litigate those incidences that are directly involve student, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of those cases, but we pay them to do that, so it's all inclusive in the rates here. So to answer your question, as far as the rate goes, there has not been an exaggerated or a large increase. I can tell you that for the workers' comp, because even though we're still double the county average, it went down like about 0.04%. So let's just say we paid $2 million in costs for workers' comp last year. Now we're paying like $1,999,000. So with the minimal decrease in the experience rate, then the cost did go down very minimal. So there was no increase to cost for the workers' comp for that particular piece of it. When you talk, again, property and liability, that's different. When we insure pools, when we build a new building, or when we add trailers to the district, well, we have to insure the trailers, so there is that cost that's associated with that. The other thing is our property and liability claims or tort claims that come before the board. If we don't have very many claims for, damages for the tree fell out of Blanche Charles onto somebody's, car or something like that, then it's kind of a fee for service. So if they don't do any of those types of claims, then there is no necessarily a fee that's associated with that. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. So historically, Calexico Unified has had a high workman's comp rate. And I think that was true when I worked for this district and when I first served on the board, and it still continues to be high. What strategies or what changes, what has Keenan and Associates done to help us mitigate those numbers, to help us bring it down?
So I know that, and I'm going to this is one particular example that I know in regards to surveillance. Sometimes we do get reports on, different things that employees may be off on workers' comp, and somebody might call in like kind of a WE-tip type thing, and they'll say, I saw X, Y, and Z employee, I don't know, riding through a parade in Mexicali where this particular person maybe is off on workers' comp for a back injury, and if they're, riding, sitting upright or something like that. So what Keenan has done, and now they're able to investigate in Mexicali, whereas there was a time where that was not an allowable type thing. So, and Carlos can, this is more of his level of expertise, but that's just one specific example that I know of. I know in addition with working with the doctors, and Carlos can get a little bit more in depth in that regard as to how so let me let Carlos get in depth with that.
Yeah, so one of the reasons we have the higher rates is obviously when you have employees out on workers' comp. So one of the things that we've tried working on, and the rate is still high as compared to some of the other districts, if you compare us that way. The rate has been going down, which is a positive thing. And so one of the things that we've been working on is the return to work. So the quicker we try to return him to work, then the lower the rate we'll have. And so hopefully it's our goal that as we continue to work on the return to work, that the rates start going down to put us in a better position.
Yep. My concern is that we have a repetition of patterns of behavior where you have the same type of injuries, same type of, or maybe even the same individual going out.
Right, and I think that's
periodically.
Like Ms. Randall mentioned, we are aggressive when it comes to those type of claims that are filed that are questionable. And so Keenan always asks, well, is this a case that needs to be looked into? And so our response at times is, yes, of course it needs to be looked into. It's questionable. Or if there's a concern that comes up that we need to have it investigated and looked into as far as surveillance, then that's another approach that we take as well.
One final question. Does it impact having only one workman's comp doctor in the county?
Yes, it does.
So how can we mitigate that?
That's something that we work directly with Keenan to see what other providers are available. But at this point, I know we do use Dr. Arbin's locally. That's where we send most of our cases.
That's the only one that's been there for the past 10 years.
And it's sometimes it's not necessarily the fault of the insured. It's just that other doctors don't see workers' comp cases. They don't take them. So either and it's kind of a long drive to San Diego with someone who's just been injured on the job. So sometimes our hands are pretty tied in that regard as well.
Yeah, and just to add, as far as with this particular doctor, for example, we have a good communication with him. Whenever there's a question that comes out, for example, if there's a specific restriction, I have which is great, the flexibility, I think, in the comfort to email directly Dr. Arbins or talk to him on the phone and say, hey, you know what, you sent this restriction, I have some questions on it. And so I tell him, I'm going to send you a few questions that I need to know. Please respond in regards to what your professional opinion is so that way we can try to get this employee back to work and accommodated. So we have good communication where if there's ever a concern that comes up, we can discuss it. And again, the primary goal being is to return the employee as quickly as possible.
No further questions.
I motion to approve.
Second. So there's a motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr., seconded by me. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J3, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and the Department of the Navy to establish a Navy National Defense Cadet Corps program at Calexico High School.
And at a previous meeting months ago, the board voted to approve that Calexico High School work in conjunction with the Navy to develop the Cadet Corps program. And so this is the actual agreement that formalizes that relationship. And so the goal is to implement the program as soon as possible, starting with this school year. We
Motion
just
to approve.
Need it finalized.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Are we going to have classrooms and everything that will be suitable for them so they can set up?
It is the hope. I know that Ms. Randall has been working with Calexico High School's principal in securing about 3 or 4 more classrooms through trailers, the relocatables.
Okay. All right. Second.
Motion by Trustee Aguilar, second by Trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J4, awarding of RFQ/RFP number 2016-05, the architectural services.
Once again, I'd like to table this item. And this is, I've asked for information that I have not received yet. So I'd like to table J4.
For the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion to table J4. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent.
Passes to table, right?
Passes to table to move on to the next regular board meeting and with the requested information by the Trustee Calderon Jr. Moving on to J5, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Jones Hall for bond counsel and disclosure counsel services in connection with general obligation bond proceedings.
And this would be the agreement for the bond counsel services with Jones Hall. And I know that this is something that had been discussed before.
Okay.
So it has been revised. This is the real contract, correct?
Yeah, but this one wasn't the one that required revising.
No?
Not the
It
bond
was
counsel.
The next one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What? And we already took it through all the steps that we had asked before?
Yes, this one, yes.
Okay. I motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr., second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J6, contract between Calexico Unified School District and Caldwell, Flores, and Winters, Inc. for professional financial advisory services. Ms. Randall?
So this is the agreement between the district and CFW for professional financial advisory services, which are directly related to the bond. I know that, and that's how we have legal here. Marty's here, and I know that the direction the direction from the board was to just get some information, get some clarifications on the contract. And I know that CFW is here, and they're here to answer any additional questions. Some of the, and I'll, Marty, jump in as you see fit, just as far as some of the items in the contract and some of the discussion, and just, I guess, some of the outcome and the agreement from our legal to CFW's legal.
And some of the issues that were raised in the last... Is this on? Some of the issues that were raised during the last meeting were the term of the contract, the ability of the district to terminate the contract for convenience, not if they mess something up or for cause. I did have a discussion with Yuri Calderon, their in-house attorney. Yes. And he explained to me that Caldwell, Flores, and Winters wants to make sure that this is a long-term relationship with the district and that they put in a lot of work up front. Now, under the terms of this contract, they don't get paid until that bond is issued. You sell the bonds, not that it passes. And if I recall last time, they said they were anticipating 3 bond issuances. Mm-hmm. So their point to me was, we put a lot of work up front. And so what happens if all of a sudden you're like, hey, I don't like you guys anymore, I'm going to bring in somebody else. They've done a lot of work and they won't get compensated for it. That was their explanation. So it was kind of left at that, and they would prefer to leave the contract as is. It's a business point, not a legal point.
And then there was the issue of what services are we getting for...
The back of the contract provides, I think it's Exhibit A, a list of exhibits. But basically, and they're here to answer your questions. They're going to oversee the entire process. And one of them is going to be your eyes and ears to make sure that you get the best rates possible. It's kind of like, when you're out there with your mortgage, I told Maya this morning, I fought real hard for that eighth of a point. I hope that that's what they're going to do for you, is make sure you get the best rates. Because, over $45 million, that could add up to quite a bit of money.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it was explained to me. Hopefully, if I've said something wrong, please step in and explain it.
So at this point, based on the proposed revisions, there are none then, right? It's
Correct.
The contract
this
is
contract, that is
as take it or leave it, so to speak.
I don't know that it said take or leave it. That's the way Yuri and I kind of left it. And
Yeah.
he explained to me, and I said I would pass on his explanation to the board.
Sure.
And what is your take on this?
It's a business decision for you. I would prefer something that gives you some ability to get out of the contract if you don't like it. The Jones Hall has it in. My contract has that kind of clause in it, but their services are a little bit different than legal services. They're not actually out there billing you by a quarter of an hour. So it's a little bit harder for them, I think. And, feel free to step in.
Certainly. My name is Emilio Flores. I'm the Executive Vice President of Caldwell Flores Winters. As your counsel has described to you, the points that were brought to us, there's a couple of points that I'd like to bring to the board's attention. That's really, first off, that there has been a change in the regulations regarding financial advisors. As you may or may not know, in 2010, the Dodd-Frank Act was enacted. As part of that, our little segment of the financial industry became regulated under the SEC and the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. One of the goals of the Dodd-Frank Act was to establish a fiduciary duty between your financial advisor and the district. This means that we have to put your best interests in front of ours, and as such, they've been encouraging financial advisors as well as issuers to have a more of a long-term relationship. Their fear is that if there is a transactional relationship between an issuer and the financial advisor, there may be situations where conflicts arise where we do perform one transaction or a couple transactions, and we may or may not, under their eyes, be in a situation where we may not understand completely the transaction that you're getting into. The idea of the long-term contract is really to provide us the opportunity to make sure that we understand of the facets that affect the economic viability of the district, its long-term rating, and its ability to issue debt going forward. It's not a professional service in our eyes that is something you can parachute into. It's not something where we show up one day and it is an opinion we give you. It is a day in, day out type of research and effort that we put in. And that is really the reason why we try to establish these long-term, what I call long-term, if I could, I would have 20-year contracts, obviously. But to that point, that really is something that has been born out of needing to establish that long-term relationship and to understand your district better over time, so that when we do go issue bonds, when we do issue debt, we are able to effectively negotiate on your behalf to the underwriters to describe what your positions are, where you're at, as well as the credit rating agencies and ultimately the investors who buy your bonds. So with that, just a little background on that particular point. Obviously, in terms of termination for convenience, it is something that is sometimes executed without particular reason or cause. We do not envision ourselves in a situation where we're going to enforce the contract where you guys don't want to have us around. Obviously, we want to come to some type of remedy and being able to do what's mutually beneficial to both the district and to CFW. So it's not necessarily a point where we believe that we're going to be in a situation where we both agree to walk away, but that is our rationale.
And this long term is at least 10 years, correct?
It's at least as long as you're willing to have us around.
I think
The contract is
Sorry. Yes.
So the contract itself is for 5 years, but the program that they are putting together is over like at least a 10-year period for each issuance of the bonds.
And obviously, you have we'd have to come back to you for renewal of those services.
After 5 years.
And to answer your question, Member Ortega or President Ortega, the services that we provide is primarily in the structuring of the bond program up front. That was a lot of the work that we did in terms of making sure that we size the program correctly, making sure that there is a rationale behind the assumptions that are being made for that bond program. That program really is a lot of use of our proprietary models, making sure that we feel confident if someone does have a question regarding that program that we can defend it, not only to the board but obviously to your constituents. Additionally, at the sale of bonds, there's a lot of work that has to be done in terms of organizing the team members, overseeing that program, and ultimately, like I said before, this does create what we call a fiduciary duty to the district. So we really are your eyes and ears in the construction world. That would be basically known as your owner's rep throughout the process. And so the services that are being provided to you, are something that are universally, or not universally, but commonly provided by financial advisors, and is very similar to the scope of services that is presented in the GFOA, scope of services for municipal advisors as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Assume there are local bond passes.
Yes.
Assume Proposition 51 passes.
Yes.
When would you anticipate the first bond sale? If you're at that point.
If you're at that point, there's a couple of considerations you have to make. One is whether or not you have the requisite bonding capacity. At the moment, you do. And obviously, the big thing that changes in August is the assessed valuations will be released. So the timing of the assessed valuations for your district and either the increase or decrease of that value will determine your ability, not only in terms of issuing the bonds, but also the size of that bond at that time. If Prop 51 does pass, we are currently in the process. I think it's the next agreement regarding state aid is really vital in terms of making sure that we get the applications in as soon as possible. DSA is starting to have a large logjam of projects as people anticipate Prop 51 passing. And so what's going to happen is those projects that will receive priority will be the ones that have local funding available to match those grants, and those who have already initiated the process. So in our minds, it benefits the district to get those bonds sold as quickly as possible. Also, as you may know, the current interest rate market is such that issuing debt right now is relatively cheap. For those of you who do have mortgages and who have refinanced a year ago, are now looking at saying receiving lower rates today. Every time that we're at a podium, we talk about being at historic lows. At some point, we will bottom out, and so it does benefit the district to take advantage of those interest rates as they are available. So to answer your question, really, the timing is dependent on your ability to issue those bonds, but we would anticipate being able to issue them as quickly as by the end of the year, and probably more of a less aggressive timeline sometime in the first quarter between January and March.
Of 2018 or 2017?
17. The bond issuance process typically takes 60 to 90 days. For bond refundings, it takes anywhere from, we've done it as quickly as 42 days to about 60.
So just so we're clear, timeline, you're saying that bond passes November, and so within 45 to 60 days or 60, 90 days or whatever, which would be that January or the first quarter, January through March of 2017.
You can have the proceeds available.
Okay, thank you.
And just to that point, obviously if you wanted to issue, we're getting a bit in the weeds here, but if you wanted to issue bonds sooner than that, in anticipation of the bond measure, you can always parallel services. Obviously, that requires some guesswork in terms of whether or not the bond passes, and there may be a lot of work that's done for nothing, but that is also a possibility as well. If there was some dire need to have funding by the end of the year, that is something that could also be accomplished.
If you don't mind, Mr. President, I just will also share just some information. I did ask and was asked to contact a neighboring district, and I actually talked to a board member at McCabe, where they also did work with CFW, and This contract their contract was fairly similar, if not the same, that they entered in with CFW, and as far as the terms go. So I just want, and they didn't share any issue or complaint or anything regarding the contract. Their board did pass a very similar contract to what's being presented here. So.
A motion to approve.
So, motion by Trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Motion to deny.
Motion, there's another motion by Trustee Aguilar, excuse me, there's a motion by Trustee Aguilar to deny J6. Is there a second? I second it. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 No.
Motion does not pass. Trustee Aguilar in favor, Trustee Ortega in favor, Trustee Calderon Jr. no.
Motion to table.
Motion to table by Trustee Aguilar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J7, contract between Calexico Unified School District, Caldwell, Flores, and Winters for professional consulting services. So
this is the agreement between CFW and the district in regards to the state aid portion, where they would be consulted to submit applications on behalf of the district for the state aid, which would be the matching piece towards the bond proceeds, which would be a part of the bond program, which would provide additional resources through modernization and new construction for the bond proceeds to enhance and provide, like I said, those additional resources for the projects and the bond proceeds. Also, if my memory serves me correctly, in this agreement, or there some of the same things in this agreement, but I'm not sure if we have an updated copy of this, but I do know that there was some discussion and there were some changes that were proposed to be made in this agreement. One change being the as far as they would seek permission from the district prior to entering or performing any services when it comes to providing applications or preparing documents on behalf of the district, that they need prior district approval to do so. Because in this particular contract, I do believe they are funded based on a percentage of whatever the state proceed amount is, that they would receive a percentage of that, so that we would know exactly what's being worked on, and they would need prior approval to work on behalf of the district before they actually do work and submit applications and just do any work on any funding for modernization and for new construction on this agreement.
And was it agreed on?
I do believe so, and Mr. Norman, you can speak to that.
Good evening. The process, the state aid process is a very straightforward process. There is a funding application, which is a 5004 funding application, which identifies the project, the number of pupil grants, and the associated grant amounts for that particular project. The funding application has to be signed by the district before we are able to submit it to the Office of Public School Construction for consideration for funding by the State Allocation Board. So, say for example, Project A is ready. We have DSA approval, we have CDE approval. I will then bring that application in with the corresponding pupil grants and the corresponding apportionment amounts into the business office or into the superintendent's office for their signature. That application cannot be submitted without the district's authorization to submit it.
Is this in writing?
It is in the contract, yes, and that is our procedure as well. And that's the procedure that we use for all of our districts, and it's the procedure that the state, obviously, we cannot be signing contracts on behalf of the district. It has to be the district representative that signs the contract, the application.
If I recall that the question that had come up was the compensation is 2% of any grant received from the state on any application Caldwell Flowers or Winters submitted or provided consulting services on. It's still a little bit confusing to me. Like, say you provide consulting services for the entire program, but you don't exactly submit the form, the 5004. Do you still get compensated even though you might have had really minimal advisory on some other project?
The practice that we undertake is you have to receive an apportionment from the state. And so if we never submit an application, then you're not going to receive an apportionment.
I think the question is, what if another company submitted the forms and an apportionment is received by the district?
My experience with that, in even taking over from other consultants with other school districts, is that the company that submits it, that's under contract, when the apportionment comes in, is the company that receives the 2%.
Okay. So would you have any objection if we modify, the district modifies your fee provision that just says you get 2% of any apportionment that Caldwell Flowers and Winters submitted the application on?
I believe that was in there. Yuri said that was definitely in
And
the
I
contract.
might not be looking at the most recent version that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's certainly something we'd be willing to make the adjustment to.
And I believe Yuri did say that he already made that adjustment, so it should be in there.
Is it?
So, table. What are
We
the?
already tabled
the other?
6, so might as well table 7.
So is that your motion?
I mean, how, can we get this document?
Pardon?
To get this document updated, what do we have to do?
So I know that their attorney has been working with our attorney, so we can update that and just and make sure that we're in agreement, and then we can update the document and bring it back for both agreements. That what the changes that I believe the board wants to see on both agreements, and we can bring it back to the next board meeting.
Okay.
So can we take an action now to approve, or we should wait until? Table it? Okay. Motion to table.
There's a
Second.
There's a motion to table by Trustee Calderon Jr., second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. J8, contract between Calexico Unified School District and Renaissance Learning for Professional Development.
This is to approve our Renaissance Learning contract, and so that we can get the training needed for the program. And it would be out of Title I, $24,000 for the training itself. And approximate cost for substitutes is $40,000, and I believe the training is provided here in-house.
Motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. J10, proposal between Calexico Unified School District.
Mr.
Yes.
President, can we get a fan in here? It's pretty warm.
Okay. Or preferably the AC, of course, but.
They're on the roof now.
Okay. But a fan will do. Even a hand. Sorry? I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break. Thank you. Our meeting from the break. We're on J9. Oh, I'm sorry.
And J9 is the item for us to consult with CSM Consulting for the E-rate that they do for us. And this would be out of the technology budget, and it allows us to receive discounted rates for the products and anything that has to do with technology. So we recommend that this be approved.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J10, proposal between Calexico Unified School District and Wireless PNP for fiber, network, and phone cabling for the Alternative Education Campus.
And this is a project for our technology department to be able to make our new alternative education campus up to par for service in August, and so that it has the technology, the phone service, etc., everything ready to go for when we open school. And our recommendation, obviously, is to approve.
What funding are we going to use?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ambris?
That would be under our LCAP goal number 2, district technology funding. And it's about $49,000 and change.
And this is for the school that's next to Blanchard?
Yes, it's so that we can get everything connected and updated for them.
And you said from what?
For LCAP.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Motion by Trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J11, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education for ELA and ELD Professional Development Services.
And this is so that ICOE can come out and train our staff on ELA and ELD for 6th to 8th grade and 9th through 12th, the two different programs. Title I funding to cover the professional development.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Calderon Jr., second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J12, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for Professional Development District-wide.
And this is for professional development district-wide on ELD. Also, it's ICOE coming out to do the training for our staff to be covered under Title I, professional development, a little over $11,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr., second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. Moving on to J13, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education to provide professional development to Our Lady of Guadalupe staff from August 2016 to December of 2016.
And this is a Title II funding, and obviously because we receive federal funding, we do have to make it also available to our local private schools, and that's part of the compliance issues.
Motion.
Motion to approve by Trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with Trustee Real absent. J14, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and ICBHS Youth and for Alcohol and Drug Counseling.
And this is just to formalize an agreement so that the Imperial County Behavioral Health can come out and provide alcohol and drug counseling to students at our secondary school sites, particularly Aurora and Calexico High School, inclusive of the 9th grade campus.
Motion
and
to approve.
no cost.
Motion to approve by trustee Aguilar, second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. Moving on to J15, Memorandum of Understanding between Robert F. Morales Adult Education Center and the Imperial County Workforce Development Office by developing community ties.
And this is an MOU so that Imperial County Workforce Development can work with our adult ed program. It is a memorandum of understanding that we approve, I believe, on a yearly basis as well.
Motion.
Actually, more than that.
Motion to approve by
5
trustee
years.
Calderon Jr. Is there a second? Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J16, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Houghton Milford Harcourt for professional learning for Go Math K-5.
And this is to train our classroom teachers in our new math adopted material, and this is for the publisher, which is Houghton Mifflin, to provide the training throughout, and that's through Title I as well.
Maria, is it going from site to site, or are we going to hold a meet?
I think that we will provide them on staggered dates and do them by grade levels.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. Moving on to J17, appointment of the Calexico High School CTE Advisory Board for the 2016-2017 school year.
So there's a CTE advisory committee that's composed of people from throughout Imperial County, and we'd like to have the board approve the members on this list. In particular, representation from Calexico is Betty Nunez as the CTE advisory secretary.
Motion.
Motion to approve by trustee Aguilar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J18, report to the governing board regarding compliance with the Cal 200 settlement agreement for trimester 3.
So with regards to the Cal 200 settlement, one of the requirements is that the board receive a report for each trimester, and this report just says that we were in compliance with the 200 minutes for every 10 days here at Calexico Unified.
This is the PE
The PE.
hours. Motion.
Motion to approve by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J19, approval of amended 2016-2017 school calendar.
So a school calendar that was previously approved by the board reflected one of the non-work days for teachers as February 24th, and it was 2017, and it was moved to March 3rd, 2017. And so we recommend that the board approve the amended calendar reflecting March 3rd as the non-work day for the teachers, as fair day.
Motion.
Motion to approve by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Aye. I'm sorry. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Sorry, I was
Trustee
looking
Real
at.
absent. J20, textbook adoption 2016 through 17 for health education, comprehensive sexual health education.
And as required by law, all schools should have a comprehensive sexual health education program and curriculum for its students. And this is the adopted material, which is coming out of general fund, a little over $14,000. And it'll be in place for our next school year.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Calderon Jr. to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J21, adoption of job description, human resources specialist, classified, and corresponding salary schedule.
And this is a matter that you've addressed at a previous meeting and that you've had more discussion on. And so, as presented by Mr. Gonzalez, we're recommending that the job description for the human resource specialist be adopted along with its corresponding salary schedule.
Motion?
Motion to approve by trustee Aguilar, second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous with trustee Real absent. J22, resolutions regarding disposition of surplus asset and non-asset technology and office furniture equipment.
And this is just to legally be able to dispose of obsolete or surplus equipment and that we don't use anymore.
Did we follow up on the donation?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
The donation?
Oh, the donation process. So we have to deem that the items don't exceed what the cost of running the ads and hiring an auctioneer or whatever we plan on doing. A lot of this stuff is the computers and the desks and stuff, and a lot of this stuff has been sitting outside for quite a while. With the electronics and the e-waste is what it's called, we actually recycle that stuff and get a check that goes back into the general funds. So we actually receive money back from this stuff. If we donate it, you know, I can't even guarantee this stuff would work, to be honest with you. 'Cause like I said, it sits out on a pallet for however long.
I wasn't referring to the computers or anything that we recycle. I was referring to the desks, shelving that were out there.
Again, if it doesn't exceed the $2,500 threshold, then it's we can donate it. I believe there is a longer process or a process to advertise it or something like that. But
a process? I mean, we can't have non-profit organizations just come and pick it up.
We had if I might interject, I a while back we disposed of some trailers that were made use of quite well.
You should see those trailers.
I have seen them.
Yeah.
They're really nice. So maybe we could reach out to them, or there are other organizations. I don't know.
Yeah. Neighborhood House received 2 of these trailers.
Yeah.
And
for $1.
They look better than our trailers.
Hey, if that's if that's the will of the board, then we can.
Well, that would be my suggestion, but if it could be used, I think we should have allow someone to continue to use it.
So if you determine that the value is less than $2,500, which it sounds like it is, then you make the determination is, well, if we put it out to, auction, are we going to get enough money back to cover our costs? For stuff like this, probably not. So if the 3 of you make that determination today, you can just give it away.
Yeah, well, that's what donating.
To some
I don't think we can make money out of this.
My question in that was, is it the total amount or per single item?
Total amount.
Total amount?
Whatever it's going to cost you to advertise and have staff auction and have people come.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like it's worth much.
No. Well, if you can continue to look at it, I would appreciate it. And if someone can use it, the neighborhood is always willing to help people out there, and maybe they can refurbish these furniture and so forth. All right. I motion to approve.
Motion to approve by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J23, resolution to sign orders for 2016 through 17 school year.
And this reflects Mr. Ortega being able to sign as president of the board, and it adds Mr. Calderon Jr. as vice president clerk of the board, also as a signer. And it's just a formality that we need to.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by trustee Aguilar, second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous with trustee Real absent. J24, resolution regarding the education protection account for 2016 through 17 school year.
And the state of California requires that school districts determine how the monies that they receive from the EPA Education Protection Account, how it's going to be spent within its LEA. And the EPA is the amount of money that the state holds for us until they deem it's time that we can use it. So it's kind of like their savings account for us. Instead of giving us all of our funding, they hold a certain percentage for us. And so we have to basically state what we would be using this funding for in an open meeting, and that's what it's for.
And what we use it for is we can teach salaries.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J25, resolution for budget and cash transfers fiscal year 2016 through 17.
Okay, and this one is that the board needs to approve all fund transfers, and it has to be done through a written resolution, and that is what is before you.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Calderon Jr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. J26, certificated employment report.
And that's what you just...
Is that okay? So is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
to add, and you need to add, identify.
That's right.
That's it. I don't have.
Can you read that out?
Ernesto Valenzuela.
It was Valenzuela.
Okay. So so will you, who made the motion? You did?
So the motion is to approve the certificated employment report as it was presented, with the addition of Mr. Ernesto Valenzuela as the principal of Rockwood Elementary School. And the motion maker is...
Yes, motion to approve as is, with the addition of having
Ernesto
Mr.
Valenzuela.
Ernesto Valenzuela, as the principal for Rockwood School.
Second.
Motion by trustee Calderon Jr., second by trustee Aguilar. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous with trustee Real absent. J27, classified employment report.
Motion to
We
approve.
have nothing, so motion to approve.
Norma?
What's that?
Miss Aguilar made the motion.
Motion to approve by trustee Aguilar, second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous with trustee Real absent. Item K, we're not going back into closed session. Item L, there was no closed session.
M.
Moving on to N, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Now, you figure it out.
All right. Okay,
I second, let's go.
Okay. Motion by trustee Aguilar, second by trustee Calderon Jr. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous. Trustee Real absent. Thank you. Good night.
That's yours.
Now I can